Heavy dark clouds slowly covered the small town, turning the bright day into a gloomy gray. The wind started to pick up, and the weather reports warned of a strong storm coming soon. Jack, a hard-working single dad, looked out from his porch, worried about the approaching storm. He had a lot on his plate, taking care of his little daughter Emma and managing his small job. But there was something else on his mind. The old house next door, where Sarah lived, had an old roof that looked weak and worn. Jack had noticed water leaking inside whenever it rained, and he feared the coming storm would make it worse. Jack put on his jacket and walked over to Sarah's house. She was busy packing some things inside. She looked tired but smiled politely when she saw Jack. "Hey, Sarah. I noticed your roof looks bad. With this storm coming, I want to help. I can fix it before the rain starts," Jack said quietly. Sarah hesitated for a moment, but then nodded. "Thank you, Jack. I really appreciate it. I don't have much money right now to fix it," she said softly. Without wasting any time, Jack got his tools from his truck. The sky was getting darker by the minute. The first drops of rain started falling, and Jack climbed carefully onto the roof. The old wood creaked under his feet. He worked fast, nailing loose shingles and covering holes with plastic sheets. Even though Jack was tired from a long day, he did not stop. He thought about Emma waiting for him at home and how he needed to finish quickly so both houses would be safe. As Jack moved to the attic to check from inside, he noticed something strange. Behind an old wooden beam, there was a small envelope tucked away. Curious, he carefully pulled it out. The envelope was yellowed with age and sealed tightly. There was no name or address on it, just a strange symbol on the front. Jack's heart beat faster. He wondered who could have hidden this here and why. He thought about asking Sarah, but he decided to wait until after the storm. The rain was falling harder now, and the wind was howling. Jack hurried to finish the roof before the storm got worse. The rain soaked through his jacket and the cold wind cut through his skin. But he did not give up. By the time he finished, the storm was in full force. Thunder rumbled in the distance, and lightning lit up the sky. Jack climbed down carefully and went inside Sarah's house. She was sitting by the window, watching the storm nervously. "I fixed it as best as I could," Jack said, holding the envelope in his hand. Sarah looked at it, and then back at him, her eyes filled with worry. "What is that?" she asked softly. Jack shook his head. "I don't know yet. I found it in your attic. I thought maybe you should see it," he said. Sarah took a deep breath and nodded, then carefully opened the envelope. Inside, there was a folded letter and an old map. The letter was written in shaky handwriting. It talked about land, a secret property, and a warning not to trust anyone. Sarah's hands trembled as she read. Jack watched her closely, feeling that this was bigger than just a broken roof or a storm. Sarah looked at Jack with wide eyes and said, "This changes everything." Jack wanted to ask more, but the thunder shook the house and the windows rattled. The storm outside was strong, but the storm inside the house felt even stronger. That night, Jack lay awake thinking about the letter and the strange symbol on the envelope. Who had hidden it there? Why had Sarah kept this secret? And what dangers might come now that the truth was out? Jack knew this was only the beginning of something much bigger than a simple roof repair. As the storm raged on, Jack made a silent promise to protect Sarah and help her with whatever was coming. Outside, the rain washed the streets. But inside, a new mystery had begun, one that would change their lives forever. The morning after the storm, the sun peeked through the clouds, but the air still felt heavy with tension. Jack woke up early, his mind restless from the night before. The letter and map Sarah had shown him kept running through his thoughts. He needed answers, and he knew Sarah was the key to finding them. He grabbed a quick breakfast and headed next. Sarah was already outside, sweeping the porch slowly, lost in her thoughts. When Jack approached, she looked up, surprise and relief mixing on her face. "Good morning, Jack," she said softly. "I'm still trying to understand all this." Jack smiled gently. "We'll figure it out together," he promised. They sat at her kitchen table, the letter and map spread out between them. The letter was old and delicate, warning the reader to keep the secret safe. It spoke about a large piece of land Sarah's family had owned for generations, land no one in town knew about. The map showed hidden borders and marks, proving the land was much bigger than anyone realized. Sarah sighed. "My family wanted to keep it quiet to avoid problems. But now, with this storm and that stranger who showed up last night, I'm scared. Someone might come looking for this land, and I don't know if I'm ready." Jack reached out and placed a comforting hand over hers. "You're not alone. We'll protect it. But first, we need to understand who wants it and why." As they talked, a knock came at the door. Jack tensed, but Sarah calmly went to answer it. Outside stood a man in a dark coat, his eyes sharp and cold. "I'm looking for Sarah," he said quietly. "We need to talk about the property." Jack stepped forward, his voice firm. "She doesn't want to talk right now." The man's gaze flicked to Jack and then back to Sarah. "This isn't just about property. It's bigger than you think. You don't want to get involved." With that, he turned and walked away, leaving a cold silence behind. Sarah closed the door slowly, her hands shaking. "That man works for a company that wants to buy the land. They are powerful and dangerous." Jack's mind raced. This was more than he had expected. They needed to be careful. Over the next days, Jack and Sarah grew closer, working together to protect the house and the secret letter. Jack fixed broken windows and strengthened doors, while Sarah searched for more information about her family's land. They shared stories of their pasts. Sarah about her quiet life hiding a secret. Jack about raising his daughter alone after his wife passed away. One afternoon, while going through some old boxes in the attic, Sarah found a dusty, locked box. Inside were papers, photos, and a small key labeled "The Truth." Excited but nervous, she showed it to Jack. "Maybe this will help us." That night, as the wind whispered outside, Jack and Sarah sat by the fireplace, planning their next move. They didn't know who else was watching or what dangers lay ahead. But one thing was clear. The secret of the land was out, and their lives were about to change forever. Days passed, but the feeling of danger grew stronger. Jack and Sarah worked quietly, careful not to attract attention. Sarah used the small key to open the locked box they found in the attic. Inside, there were old documents, photos of her family, and a diary belonging to her great-grandfather. The diary told a story of how the family had earned the land long ago, but it also warned of people who wanted to take it by force. Jack read the diary carefully. It said that many years ago, the land had something valuable hidden beneath it, something that could change everything. Sarah's eyes widened. "That's why they want it," she said. "It's not just land. It's more." One evening, while Jack was fixing a fence, he noticed a black car parked a little way down the street. A man inside was watching Sarah's house. Jack's heart pounded. He quickly went to tell Sarah. They knew then they could not stay quiet any longer. Sarah decided to call her oldest friend Mark, who was a lawyer in the city. Mark agreed to help and promised to look into the land's ownership and the company threatening them. Jack and Sarah felt hope for the first time in days, but danger was closer than they thought. One night, someone tried to break into Sarah's house. Jack heard noises downstairs and rushed to stop the intruder. A struggle followed, but the intruder ran away before Jack could catch him. They found a note left behind. "Give up or lose everything." The warning made their situation clear. They were up against powerful enemies. Jack and Sarah promised to protect the land and each other no matter what. They started making plans to keep Sarah's daughter safe and to find out the full truth about the land's secret. As the sun set, Jack looked at Sarah with determination. "We'll fight this together, no matter how hard it gets." Sarah nodded, her eyes full of hope and fear. The mystery of the land was growing deeper, and so was the danger. But Jack and Sarah were ready to face whatever came next. The next morning, Jack and Sarah woke up early, feeling the weight of the threats on their shoulders. They knew they couldn't wait for help to come to them. Sarah called Mark again, who told them he had found something surprising in the records. The land was tied to a large inheritance, and someone powerful was trying to claim it fast. Jack suggested they visit the old family lawyer's office to get more answers. Sarah agreed, hoping to find proof that would stop the company's plans. They packed a small bag and set out for the lawyer's office in town. The office was dusty and quiet, filled with old books and papers. An elderly man named Mr. Harris greeted them kindly. He had been the family's lawyer for decades and knew many secrets. As he showed them old files, he told a story about Sarah's great-grandfather's hard work to protect the land from greedy strangers. Mr. Harris handed Sarah a thick folder. "This has all the legal documents you need, but be careful. Some people will do anything to get this land." Sarah's hands trembled as she took the folder. Jack put a reassuring hand on her shoulder. Suddenly, the door creaked open. A stranger stepped inside, dressed sharply, with a cold smile. "I'm here to collect what belongs to my client," he said, looking directly at Sarah. Jack stood in front of her protectively. "You're not welcome here." The man laughed softly. "This isn't over. You don't know who you're dealing with." He left quickly, but his warning hung in the air. Jack and Sarah left the office, clutching the folder tightly. They knew time was running out. As they walked back, Sarah whispered, "We have proof now. But what if it's not enough?" Jack looked at the sky, dark clouds gathering again. "Then we fight harder. We won't let them take what's ours." Back at the house, they began planning their next steps. The storm outside mirrored their growing battle, fierce and unstoppable. But Jack and Sarah were determined to protect their home, their family, and the secret that came with it. Days turned into nights filled with worry and preparation. Jack and Sarah knew the threat was closing in, but they refused to back down. With the legal papers from Mr. Harris safely stored, they began reaching out to people who might help: friends, neighbors, even local news reporters. They needed the world to know about the fight for the land. One afternoon, Jack took Sarah to meet an old friend named Lisa, a determined journalist who had a reputation for uncovering hidden truths. Lisa listened carefully as Sarah explained everything: the letter, the map, the threats. Lisa's eyes shone with interest. "This story could change everything," she said. "I'll help you, but you must be careful. Powerful people won't like this." Meanwhile, strange things kept happening. Their phones sometimes didn't work, and unknown cars were seen parked near the house at odd hours. Sarah's daughter was scared, hiding in her room more than usual. Jack stayed close to them both, promising to keep them safe no matter what. One evening, as they gathered around the dinner table, a sudden loud knock startled them. Jack opened the door to find a police officer standing there. He showed a warrant for a search, claiming it was part of an investigation related to the property. Sarah's heart pounded, and Jack's jaw tightened. They let the officers in, but Jack watched every move carefully. After hours of searching, the officers left with no answers, but the message was clear. The powerful group was trying to scare them off. That night, Sarah and Jack sat outside under the stars, tired but not defeated. "They want to break us," Sarah whispered. "But we have something stronger: the truth." Jack nodded. "We will fight until the end. For this house, for your family, for the future. The battle for the land was far from over. But together, Jack and Sarah were ready to face whatever came next, no matter the cost. The next morning, Jack woke early, feeling the weight of everything they had been through. The threats, the fear, and the uncertainty, but also the hope that had kept them strong. Sarah joined him outside, her eyes tired but determined. "We can't let them win," she said softly. Jack nodded. "We have proof, friends, and the truth on our side. It's time to fight back." They decided to hold a community meeting at the local town hall. Jack and Sarah shared their story with neighbors, friends, and anyone who would listen. They showed the documents, the photos, and told about the threats and attempts to scare them away. The room filled with murmurs of shock and support. Lisa, the journalist, was there too, taking notes and recording everything. She promised to write a story that would expose the powerful people trying to steal the land. The community agreed to stand with Jack and Sarah, ready to protect what was rightfully theirs. Days later, the news story went live. It spread quickly online and in newspapers. People from all over reached out with offers of help and encouragement. The company threatening them faced pressure from the public and legal officials. Finally, after weeks of tension, a court hearing was held. Jack and Sarah sat nervously as the judge reviewed the evidence. The truth was clear. Sarah's family had owned the land for generations, and the threats had no legal standing. The judge ruled in their favor. As they left the courthouse, relief washed over them. The fight was over, and the land was safe. Jack smiled at Sarah. "We did it. Together." Sarah hugged her daughter tightly. "And this is just the beginning of our new life." The storm had passed, and though the sky was still a little cloudy, their future was bright. They had faced fear, danger, and uncertainty, but love, courage, and truth had won in the end.